Our next speaker is Janet Hurley. She's going to be speaking on quantifying the costs associated with a school IPM program. Janet, they're all yours.
They're all mine. Good morning, everybody. Oh, good. The teammate finally made it. I pick on fun, just so y'all know.
I'll stand up
when you're ready. When you're ready for me, because when you're ready for me to leave, because that's what I'm doing. Anyway, first of all, let me remind y'all, this is a enhancement grant from the Southern IPM Center, and my co-PIs on this was myself, Dr. Blake Bennett, who is an ag economist, so you guys understand, we did go for the economist, Dr. Mike Merchant, which some of you probably all know, he's the urban entomologist, and then because of the way we were trying to do this project, we partnered with Tom Green with the IPM Institute, because I'm trying to do this not just as a Southern project, we were trying to go national with some of this data. I will get into how this was a poke a stick in my eye. So when we got the grant, we decided to try and develop a survey. We had a nice lovely meeting in Dallas at the A&M Research and Extension Center, where we brought us cantankerous school IPM people all together, and we are cantankerous because when we get in a room, we're just like every other entomologist. We all fight over what's the standards, what is everything. But we were trying to figure out, how do you measure a school district's IPM understanding, IPM actual implementation, and then when you ask them the question, I don't care what district I ask, how much are you spending? Generally what I get, well, my pest control contract is. But then when you ask them, if they don't have a pest control contract, we do it in-house. Well, what's your cost? Well, my chemical cost is, and they just left us hanging. Well, the economist that I work with, he's getting a little frustrated because he thinks that there's more to develop. So we went through and, based on a lot of wrangling, Jean-Jacques, because he was there, trying to get this continuum survey and some other things. So we decided, I'll go through the surveys. We built an IPM continuum survey, a cost survey, at the same time asking the school districts, I'd like to look at your maintenance and operations budget, which is public information, but getting it from them, root canals are better, okay? And then looking at some other things. We also, thanks to USDA NIFA, which you weren't always called that, helped us develop this thing called the IPM calculator. And we use that as our scoring system to look at a school building. So we're doing those as well. And then data collection, looking at 2 years full of work orders, which I will just tell you, that's been interesting. So the continuum survey. It's 8 sections, and I'm going to go through the sections so that you guys can see this. And the questions are either agree or disagree. Now, when the proctor, like myself, Fudd Graham, Kathy Murray, let's see, Faith Oy, Belinda Messenger with California, if any of my partners asked the school, they had to ask the questions. The school couldn't answer these. The interesting thing is when we ask these questions, they're triggered on the Excel spreadsheet. If they answer correctly, it comes out green. If they answer incorrectly, it looks red. So that when I see the file, it's an easy, oh, these are where they're missing and where they're supposed to be. Total 42 points. So kind of just, and I committed the evil sin of there's lots of words on this, but I couldn't figure out a way to do this without the words. So basically the first section is on baseboard spraying. Does the district routinely apply insecticides to baseboards? Because that's just how we roll. Or do they do something else? Because sometimes not even doing routine baseboard spraying, they will also do routine gel bait, routine IGR. There's some companies that they just feel that they need to go in and apply an insecticide. But this one's one of the big ones. Your district expects pesticides to be applied during every service call by your staff or contractor. All right, I mean, I get this a lot from the Terminex and the Orkins. Well, that's what they hire us for, to put out product. So that was the first one. The second section is effective monitoring program. Those of us that understand pest control, know thy bug, monitor for thy bug, and then treat for thy bug. But not so much. Some of these people don't always do that. The technician using a flashlight. I really am shocked that a lot of them do this now. But this one using anything else besides normal observation and sticky cards, using other tools to observe, you know, a moisture meter or something. A lot of people will not go the extra mile to solve the pest problem unless I'm involved. Written thresholds. Just so you guys know, in Texas where school IPM is law, and we've been law for over 20 some odd years now, this is a mandate. Our schools must have written thresholds in order to be in compliance with the school IPM rules. Well, it's interesting. Yeah, we have these. Your school relies more on the judgment of the applicator rather than the written thresholds or protocols to decide the kind of treatment. So you could even have written guidelines and they're going to use their own judgment. Thorough and easily retrievable record keeping. This one actually boggles the brain because when I work with my Department of Ag, Texas Department of Ag, record keeping is always at the top of the list of non-compliance. And then when I look around the country, oh my heavens. We have a big issue about record keeping. People just don't like to do it. So pest control service times in and out. And the reason we are looking at the in and out times, just so you know from The Economist, he wants to know how long does it take to do something. You know, is it a 15-minute job? Is it an hour job? How much are they spending doing work? Because in The Economist's mind, we start chunking numbers at that point. Can you track pest control through your work order system? Some people use a work order system, some don't. But how do you track? How do you know what's going on? I'm beginning to think that most of these schools are just the Amazing Kreskin. An integrated control program that emphasizes on lower risk control tactics. This is very interesting when I start looking at work orders and I start looking at how schools are doing pest control. Because we ask them, oh, does your district rely principally but not exclusively on pesticides to control indoor and structural pests? This is a big trigger. They all say, yeah, we do. Now it depends on where you're at. You're in Conroe, Texas, I'll give you that. Maine, different story, but you know, your school district is most likely to use baits to control ants. This one I thought was I thought this was a no-brainer. I saw a couple of red ones on this one already. Again, the policy that favors lower risk pesticides. This is going to be funny when I talk about California. Because it's just funny. Pest prevention through environmental modification. Now, this one, again, just so you guys know, because you're all bug people, but your index finger is a mouse, 2 fingers is a rat. Can you get underneath, can you see daylight under a door? Because again, if you're having a mouse problem and I can stick my finger underneath it, well then mice can come in to, you know, wherever. So does the district look at this? Because we ask them 2 different types of questions to get at how are they doing IPM. What about maintenance and sanitation issues? Okay, those are the other ones. And then your pest control staff treats pest proofing as more important than pesticides or traps. Good training and communication. Again, in Texas, we mandate that the IPM coordinator is supposed to train their staff about their opportunities within the IPM program. Those are lovely formal words. But are any of the schools doing any type of training? I'll get to this one. IPM policy, responsible administration and recognition for the IPM program. Again, this is where the school administrators, who everybody thinks wants this IPM and is going to be behind IPM, we're asking them, where do you think the administrators stand? I can't wait to get to the information, because basic district info. So we go from, let me back up. Okay, so these are all the continuum. Like I said, it's 8 sections. You can actually find all of our questions on the Southern IPM Center's website under the School IPM Work Group, because I've actually got everything posted there. I'm so good to them, I just keep giving them stuff to post. So the next part, the budget and the cost survey. This was a little bit different. We've got an Excel spreadsheet where we're asking them budget questions. You would think I was asking them for their firstborn, or, probing this out of school districts, this has become difficult with every district we've dealt with. And I've still got several districts that are not giving their collaborators, my collaborators, the information, so I'm holding up on some of this stuff. But when we ask them about their basic district information, so I want to know, how many school buildings do you have? Campuses. Are you 85 campuses? Are you 3 campuses? Depending on the size of the district where you're at, okay? How much indoor square footage are you talking about? For instance, one of my sample school districts is Plano ISD, which is my home district. But our high school campuses, they're just senior highs. They're like small little community colleges. We're talking over 1 million square foot just in one campus. It's a lot of buildings to cover in just one little area. So personnel, how many people do you have devoted to the program? So, for instance, I'm going to pick on Plano because it is my home district, and this one we've really cracked into their data, whereas the other ones I'm still trying to filter through some stuff. But they have, for a district that has, Plano has got 85,000 students. We're at almost 90 buildings. We cover several square miles in Collin County, which is just north of Dallas. They have 4 people devoted to the program, 3 full-time applicators and 1 supervisor. They do everything in-house. We also ask them for their maintenance department. What else do they have? The plumbers, the carpenters, all those people. What about custodial? Well, custodial is a custodial contract, and I'll explain that in a minute. And then the total and number of food service. Because again, for us that do IPM, we're thinking cleaning and food, right? And the people who fix the doors. So the budget and the cost survey. Inquire about the preventive maintenance program. Does somebody go around and fix those leaks? Does somebody go around and fix those doors? Who does this? What drives that? Inquires about the outside pest control contractor. This is interesting. Most districts have one or the other, some have both. But if they do one, they may contract out the other, and I'll explain that. And then on their in-house pesticide program, how much do they spend for budget, how much they spend for chemicals? What about training? What are the other things that they do? Plano ISD, $30,000 is what they spend every year on chemicals and training. Seems pretty low considering. Okay. Inquire about fleet vehicles. Boy, we all get vehicles, right? You know, you're a school district, there's some vehicle. Nobody counts these. Oh, that's just the district budget. It's interesting. It's kind of like, oh, that's just part of the district. I'm pretty sure when you ask the school board for that budget, vehicles are thrown in there. Additional questions about budget for athletic fields beyond any contracted costs. Y'all, I'm here to tell you, I don't care what state you're in, we spend a lot of money on athletic turf. A lot of money on athletic turf. Use of the work order system. This is interesting because here in, just so y'all know, in Raleigh, actually it's in Cary, North Carolina, there is a company called School Dude who does a work order system for schools. You can do a lot of tracking through them, but not every school uses their stuff to the ability that the program will run for them. That is what's interesting, and even they know this. The review of the most common type of pest problems. This is very hard because if I don't have a good work order system, what we're having to do is manually enter every work order into an Excel spreadsheet, and then I've got to run, the numbers. or actually I'm making the economist run the numbers, because he likes Excel. Janet gets a little freaked out. So what can we get from the case study? Because that's basically what we're looking at. We're looking at individual case studies throughout the country. Let me dig deep into your rules. Let me look into your books. Let me look at everything, and let's figure out what's going on. So we're looking at work orders from 2013, 2014, and 2014, 2015. 2 past school years. We didn't go for this current school year. I wanted 2 past ones. Analyze to answer specific questions. How many hours are spent per pest? We're trying to figure out, and this is not easy, because again, I've got people who are not recording stuff, so we're winging it in a lot of stuff. When pest pressure occurred for each pest, is there some resounding trends, and I will get there in a minute. How much was spent on labor, materials, etc., how much time materials were used, and how much time was spent for calls where no activity was found. Can I just tell you, this is the worst one. So let's look at the continuing results. These are the 4 schools that I've gotten in so far. I'm supposed to get another 4, but I'm praying for everything. So California, so again, total number that you would be, quote unquote, IPM Nirvana is 42. California scored a 38. Plano was a 36, Conroe was a 33, Maine was 30. Here's where it gets really interesting just looking at these 4 schools. Because California, you think, oh, they're doing IPM and they're doing it great. And Maine, you're thinking, well, what's up with this? I will tell you guys right now, looking at the work orders, Maine is doing IPM and doing it in spades. They're making us, but again, it's Maine, they don't have bugs. California, every service ticket, bifenthrin, 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 in and out spray, bifenthrin. I called, because my partners in California is Cal DPR. They can pull up stuff. She was looking at it, yep, you're right, bifenthrin. And I said, what part of IPM? Where's the low, at least toxic? This is California, y'all. It's the one state that I'm like, okay, you're making my head scratch. I can see if, that was one of these 2, Plano or Conroe, but Maine, everything is monitored with a glue board, and that technician, God bless this technician, I want to clone him. There were 3 jumping spiders, 2 crickets, 1 ground beetle found on the glue board. I mean, this technician lists everything, and not one of them's like a bad bug. I'm like, really? I'd give anything for that in one of my Texas skulls. So it's interesting, both Plano and Conroe, which are 2 very rapidly growing school systems. And Conroe was actually one of our pilot schools when the state adopted the law back in the early 90s. They've grown so large, they can't do prevention. It is all reaction, because they don't have time. We only have 2.5 people doing this, and you've got, 80 campuses. You're running around meeting yourself, coming and going. Let's see. Okay, so what have we learned so far? So these are just the general observations based on, and I will tell you guys, I knew this going in. We now can quantify it. I mean, because you can't, the anecdotal data, Marty doesn't like my anecdotal data, but I can now tell you without a doubt, because I've looked at it, and this isn't unusual. Applicators vary on how they apply, even if they are trained the same. Plano ISD, Conroe ISD, because I know both of those districts. We've trained them how to do stuff. I look at their service tickets. Applicator 1 does it one way, applicator 2 does it a different way, and applicator 3 does it a different way, and it's all for the same pest. I mean, and how they were doing it, because we found they had a really bad American cockroach problem last summer, and they weren't even using the right products. That's where I was getting a little upset. Record keeping is substandard. Nobody sees the value of filling out an application use record, even though it's mandated by the feds and the state. I'm just amazed. Applicators are not fully aware of each chemical. I've known this for a long time because they listen to what the salespeople say. They don't listen to us in extension and research. They listen to the salespeople. And they don't have a clue what the difference between the chemistry of 1-bifenthrin to deltamethrin is. Oh, that's just a different thing. Okay, I don't know where they went to school, but even in basic chemistry they taught that. Applicators are not fully aware of each, reading a label is just a suggestion. I've caught a couple of them applying pyrethroids down floor drains. I've gone and read the label. I don't know where that's on any label, but, oh, we've got cockroaches. There is much better choices for American cockroaches in drains than pouring a pyrethroid or bleach down the drain. Time. Applicators don't keep track of their time. It's like, oh yeah, even the pest control technicians, I'm in, I'm out. Some of them are better now because they have the phones and they have to log in and log out. But for the most part, no, they don't do that. And using IPM tactics vary by individual, not by district. So in other words, the district may have a thing, but it's the individual how they do it. It's not, oh, our threshold is we need this. Okay, so what we've learned, education of staff is not a priority. It is not a priority. Even though, and this is why I was starting to talk about this, the dead aim calls. Teacher sees a dead cockroach, I turn it in as a work order. The room smells, it's trash. I call the IPM people, okay? I mean, this is where we could invest in educating teachers and 3/4 of their problems would go away. But there is no importance on that. Instead, they all want the bugs dead. Y'all have seen that commercial, it's called Raid. Everybody believes that in the school system. You just spray it and the bugs will go away. And sanitation is not considered part of the pest control problem because teachers are hoarders, just so y'all know. Real fast, just on Plano ISD, Dinesh, I put this in here just for you. They are spending almost $2 million, it's 1.7, on their turf program. That's their turf contractor who's supposed to be doing that, and they are still fighting fire ants on a daily basis. And it's all because they don't know how to do fire ant baiting correctly. They just do it when it's convenient. Custodial contractor, again, it's outsourced, therefore they don't have any investment in time and investment in the building. They don't care if the building is, we watch them move the cockroaches from one end of the building to the other. Education about the IPM program limited to the maintenance staff and the food service staff. David's done a great job of getting these two groups because they understand, they think that the program works, but nobody else will. He can't get to the principals, he can't get to the teachers. And the principals are the ones that need to just have their heads knocked up because they need to give smack because they don't understand the value of clutter. And then better education for teachers, custodians, and office staff. And pest management is people management. I can't say this enough. I mean, I realize Mark Lane says this all the time, but and my word, I can't believe I'm repeating these things, but it's true. If you can't manage the people, it's hard to manage the bugs. And these are my acknowledgement statements. I got my words in right. Because I want you to know this is like War and Peace over here. But it's been interesting. We still have Alabama to turn in. I've still got North Carolina to turn in, which is supposed to be this county. Wait, county. I can't wait to hear from Walvogel on that one. Arizona still needs to turn me their data in, and I still got 2 more schools in Texas that I'm still collecting data on. I hope to have, this will be good because my goal for this project was not only to find this stuff, but we're going to put this continuum stuff into the pest management strategic plan for school IPM. And this is also going to the next publication that I'm working on the school IPM laws. Because when I've got Maine Department of Ag and California Department of Pesticide Regulations helping me with this, those are two states that have already got a rule. The only one I'm really going to go after is Michigan. I've got to get some data on Michigan, but Michigan schools, I'm thinking pest control is like the least of their worries these days. You know, water quality is pretty big, but I've seen their schools. Again, they don't invest in how to keep the school building clean. Questions?
We do have 5 minutes for questions.
Yes.
So I did read all the text on the slides,
Oh my gosh.
especially with the different methods they're using for detecting pests. And I saw a nice cadre of things in there, including DNA swabs for pest detection. What are they starting to actually adopt and use for new things, or what would you like to see them start adopting?
Well, the biggest thing is when they have a big pest problem, I'll use Plano. Plano had a very, very bad problem with American cockroaches in a school that was built a couple of years ago. They just kept going around doing what they were doing and never really investigated. They called, when we started talking about this project, well, Janet, can you come help us? I mean, 4 o'clock in the morning, great time to go cockroach hunting. But my comments to them were, well, have you looked at this? Have you tried this? Well, no. And these are my smart guys. And I'm like, okay, so we had to backtrack. How's the building built? Where's the moisture? Because American cockroaches need moisture. No two ways about it. They need moisture. They need a place to hide. What we really found out was they were built on a slab which was called cardboard carton form, and who thought that we should put cardboard underneath a concrete slab with dirt and say that this is how we're going to make a building. Wasn't thinking pests. But that was part of it. The cardboard disintegrates, and what does it leave? It leaves a nice void, moist. What do American cockroaches need? Dark, moist areas, organic matter. So I'd like to see, actually, Joe, what I'd really like to see is I'd like for them to investigate a pest problem. Oh, I have ants. Don't just spray, don't just bait. Where's the ant colony? It's termites. Don't just spray. I gotta know where the termites are at. It's frustrating. Anything else?
Here's what distinguishes, why is the Maine schools more committed than the California and the Texas schools? Is there more oversight? Is there more accounting of the deliverables from IPM, of the anticipated deliverables from IPM? Or I don't understand, what's your assessment? Why is it working in Maine?
One, I think, yes. To answer your question, Maine's working more successful because, one, it's Maine Department of Ag who does the training. Maine, you get a Department of Ag start looking at you, whoever your regulatory is, you're going to step up one more step. Even though mine does in Texas, there's no teeth behind it, even though they say there is. Second of all, I think it's their pest pressure. Okay, they don't have some of the pest pressure we have here in the South. They have a killing frost. They have snow. But other than that, Kathy has done an excellent job of garnering these schools. And they get it. But I think she also selected a school that was doing it right. You know, there was we had to address the fact that yes, this was going to be biased because getting a school to say, yes, please do this. There's not, like I said, they haven't been really forthcoming on some of this stuff. Sure. Yes?
A couple of things. I'll just let you respond to them. I don't know if they're questions or not, but you kind of touched on a little bit about the differences that you see and how individual applicators respond or your IPM people respond, and you talked about there being an issue with principals. So don't you think that maybe culture is part of it, but not all of it? Supervision is part of it, but not all of it, but mindset is a big part of it. You also talked about how influential salespeople are. And that's not any different than it is in the ag market. Where you can talk all about this is your strategy, this is your best option. And if the salesperson has another product that's on their list of what's going to get them a golf trip to, a January golf trip to Arizona, that's the one they're going to be pushing. So, you care to comment on that? Or your commentary to the question. I want to make sure that you go over time.
Okay, Marty.
You have 2 minutes.
And I'm going to try and synthesize this into the most intelligent comment that I've ever made in my life. But you really want to know my opinion on this one, Marty? Because this is where I think that the feds, who could help us, you know what we need? We need something to negate some of the commercials that we see. And I'm going to be real honest. I mean, I don't have a beef against any industry, but when all I see on my commercials are Roundup and Raid and they kill everything dead, where do you think the mentality of Joe Schmo is at? They see those commercials, that's what they think. If there was any way we could have public service announcements about the other stuff, you know, I'm thinking of the food literacy and all the other stuff that goes on, and I'm thinking commercials is the way to go because people actually pay attention to that crap, obviously. But that's the only thing, I mean, because we've tried everything else and we don't seem to be making any advances forward. So I'm trying to figure out how do we do that? Because I'm with you, Marty. We should be further along on the continuum, especially in schools, because we've been doing this over 20 years now. And I'm still frustrated.
And it speaks to our resistance management issues.
Yes, it does, because
We got the same sheet of music.
we did, Marty, we always have.
We just don't sing very well.
No, we don't, sadly. I gave up singing.